Let's start with the Tennessee teacher thing, man, because this is real controversial.
Yeah.
I know for all parents to think about your kids going to class and the teacher is armed, some parents is yay, some parents is nay. I want to get y'all insight on it. Callie, I know you don't have kids, so you might got a different insight. Me and Short, I know we have kids. But these videos that have been coming out with these kids that's beating teachers unconscious and beating bus drivers and doing all type of shit, it's like, hey, man, these teachers might need to be armed. And this is going all the way back during Columbine when the whole Columbine thing happened. And I was saying back then, like, hey, if I'm a teacher after Columbine, I'm coming to school with the blick, bro. I'm sorry. You might not know it's going to be in the bag, in the briefcase, but you got to be able to protect yourself and protect these students because I forget where it was at. I want to say Texas.
You talking about the elementary school?
Elementary school. The police was there.
Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook. Yeah, Sandy
No,
Hook.
not Sandy Hook. No? This was recent. The police was there.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The shooter was inside. And the police was not going in. They was like kind of just they wouldn't go in. They refused to go in, and they had the body cam footage of a few officers who were in, and they was just like in the cut chilling, damn near playing pinochle while the shooter going around shooting people kids. So at this point, you can't leave your safety in the hands of nobody else. You should be able to defend yourself by any means necessary. How do y'all feel about this?
No, I think that's 100% correct. I think it's nuanced, right? Because I do want. If I'm a teacher, just like you said, I want to be able to protect myself, especially when you know law enforcement might not respond fast enough. You're obviously going to want that protection for yourself. But then I think a concern parents might have is this teacher emotionally stable enough to where if they do maybe get into an altercation with a student that has, something that has to do nothing with protecting themselves, will they then go and use this weapon on a child or another member of the school because of an emotional response? So I think there's that. And then I also think it's a good thing too, because exactly the school shooter thing and just overall protection. So, but I think those are the two things really. Like it's.
I gotta have a few rhetorical questions. Will special needs teachers be armed? In those type of classrooms?
Ooh, you know what? I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
I know, but these are just rhetorical questions that I'm gonna ask as a parent, because I'm gonna speak on both sides. Special needs class or special ed, whatever the case may be, are those teachers going to be armed? And I'm not talking about the physical disabled children. I'm talking about the mental ones that may have some type of behavior disability.
That could get tricky too.
That can get tricky as well.
That's a fact.
As well as. Is it going to be inner city populated school where it's a lot of black and brown?
Because that could be tricky too.
That could be tricky as well.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Oh, I know. These are rhetorical questions that I would ask if I was in Tennessee. If I lived in Tennessee, these are the questions I would ask as a black parent.
See, let me backtrack a little bit. Let me read some of this straight from the Tennessean. Governor Bill Lee signed into law Friday a controversial bill to allow school teachers and staff to carry guns in school. The law goes into immediate effect. House and Senate Republicans passed the bill HB 1202/HB 1321 in the final weeks of the legislation session over the protests of school shooting survivors, teachers, and gun reform advocates. Okay, so basically it says parents and most of school staff will not be told who has a weapon or where it might be stored. So
concealed. That
gets a little tricky because you don't know who's carrying, and the school staff don't know who's carrying, and they don't know where it's going to be concealed at. That's where it gets a little tricky. Like, hold on.
Because if he was open concealed, it's kind of like,
even if it is hidden, why don't you know where it's at and who has it?
Yeah.
Because say if there is another active, say if the shooter, again, like we already said, is somebody from within the school, then exactly how do we even know who got it? Is there some sort of list where police can go to and access from maybe the principal's office or something to say, okay, these 10 people or 15 people within the school have a weapon, and then we can kind of go from there if there's an incident that goes on inside the school, or exactly is there no access to that? Because if there's not, then again, that's another tricky situation.
Yeah, and so also too, what I was getting at with the rhetorical questions, now, I don't know out there in Tennessee, but I know in California, we got like earthquake drills. Remember as kids, you have to go outside and say, sorry, they're going to practice active shooting drills with teachers, with students, and things like that to identify who's the open shooter, what teacher has a gun, how do you keep the children safe? So as a parent, these are the type of questions I would just want to ask and get answers to. Now, as a staff and as a teacher or whatever the case may be, I understand because it do be some of these ignorant ass students that will, while like, you know, it's been times where you see like a big kid fire on like on a woman or try to intimidate, you know, stuff like that. It's kind of like, I understand for that own safety, but I do believe like a gun versus this student is not the right way. But if that child was to hit that teacher, the teacher need to do what they need to do, not without a weapon, to get themselves out that situation and then press charges. Then that child and that parent needs to be dealt with criminal lawsuits on that.
See, this is a slippery slope because when you go get these licenses, they don't require you to have any know-how of actually using the firearm and operate it. So that was my question. Is like, hey, hold on. Are they going to have to be trained to use this? Or are they going to be able to just go take that test, answer enough questions right, and just walking around with a gun like most people? So here it says the staff will be required to undergo 40 hours of training.
So 1 work week.
And one work week at one point likened to less hours than children are sent to summer camp, whatever the case they comparing gun training to summer camp. It said approved carriers will be allowed to carry handguns in their classrooms and in most campus situations without informing parents and most of their colleagues they're armed. So I guess this is like a they don't want to know, they don't want students to know who's armed or where it's at because they might possibly be able to access the firearm. But that's a slippery slope because at least the school staff should know. Yeah. In case something happens to this teacher, okay, it's the school principal
whatever
knows where to go get it. Or hey, we might just need to do a random check in case a student found it. So it's a slippery slope, and as the parent, I want to know who's armed.
Yeah.
I would want to know.
So let me ask you this: are you pro teachers having guns in school?
At this point, knowing how many students are bringing guns to school, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm pro teachers having guns because just say you have a random school shooter, how many kids' lives could it be saved if that first teacher could have disarmed the shooter?
I think in a place like Tennessee, I'm for it because I think there's already a culture of being armed and knowing how to operate arms, and they obviously probably are more, towards or more for the Second Amendment than where if you're somewhere in like California, for instance. So I think if you're somewhere in Tennessee, Texas, where they already have a culture of going out hunting, kids are 12, 11 with guns already, then the fear of it is taken out of it to a certain degree, which I think also prohibits things from happening. Because a lot of mistakes that I believe happen with firearms are because somebody's scared and doesn't necessarily know how to operate it. So in a place like California, maybe where we don't get the training and we don't got people that are 10, 11, 12 with guns and hunting and doing all these things. It could be different compared to Tennessee where maybe like at a class of 30, maybe 15 kids might know how to operate a gun.
So I'm going to respectfully disagree with both of y'all. I wouldn't mind you guys having guns if I was a child. Because you know why? Y'all look like me. Y'all think like me. Y'all understand where I come from.
Too, yeah.
I don't trust your son, a black child, in a class with a Mr. Let's just say a Mr. Honky, whatever the case may be. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Mr. Honky is crazy.
And Mr. Honky is crazy. But again, though, bro, he could be a Confederate flag waving. You know what I'm saying? He could be one of them deep-rooted South type of dudes. Would you trust your child in that class knowing that teacher who looks completely opposite, blue eye, blonde hair, with your kinky hair, son? Hell no, I wouldn't. Again, if it was a black teacher, I may have a little more empathy as far as like, okay, they understand sometimes our demeanor, or some kids may have a little attitude. Because again, bro, you had aggression growing up. I had aggression growing up. I'm pretty sure you had aggression growing up. Black fathers and black men understand where black children, we can understand the empathy, the anger, where it comes from. I don't think that same non-black person will have that same empathy or patience to understand our children if they having a bad day or a disagreement and they're going to be trigger happy. So I say no.
I feel you on that, but if we're going to go that route, it's like, why send your kid there in the first place?
Guess what?
If that's how you feel about, somebody that don't look like him, why trust them to teach him anything at all, if that's the case?
Kids got to get education, but I'm going to tell you this, though. This just starts at home with us. We can train our kids how to shoot a gun. We can train our kids, hey, bro, when somebody's shooting, fuck what everybody else on. You stay low, you get up out there, you make it home safe, you give me a call, hey, Dad, this is what's going on. You make sure your self-preservation comes first. Fuck what everybody else is going. You get home safe. You hear shootings this way, you go the opposite way. Try to get out of Dodge.
Because here it says they will be required to undergo criminal and mental health background checks. So they're not just letting any and everybody just go and get a gun.
But what I would say is that doesn't necessarily mean, because they also do that in the police department, and there's still a bunch of people who, you know what I mean, commit crimes or things due to just their viewpoint or their philosophy on life. So I get what you're saying. Another thing why I do low-key agree with what he's saying now is because, I don't know, you know, in our high school shit, we had police officers at the high school.
Come on, bro.
So like they was already railroad niggas to low-key
It was
jail.
a school. It was a school to jail pipeline.
Well, it was a pipeline to prison.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we went to school. But I'm gonna say this though, we was bringing guns to school.
Yeah, no,
I
niggas
know
was doing crazy
homies,
shit. Yeah.
We was 9th, 10th grade.
But I'm gonna tell you this
He
though.
had the blick in his backpack.
But you had that on some personal protection. You wasn't trying to pop the teacher.
No, we weren't trying to pop teachers. We was more so on some game banging
that's
shit.
that's
hey,
what
when
I'm
we
saying.
leave the school,
We gotta walk through this.
is down there tripping.
Come on, bro.
They uncles coming up to the school tripping. So it was different reasons why we had guns, but we talking about the school shooters, like those kids, to where, hey, she didn't like me in 3rd grade, or hey, they picking on me and I'm too scared to fight, so I'm gonna shoot everybody.
Hey, not to sound,
that's a whole different type of mentality you dealing with.
I hate to sound stereotypical, bro, but I think in like modern times, there's only been like 2 black mass shooting. That was the DC snipers, bro. And I hate
Chris
to.
Dorner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
Dorner.
Dorner wasn't a mass shooter.
Yeah,
Dorner was getting get back for the culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree with you on that.
I totally agree, but you don't think from a technical standpoint?
Hell no.
Mass shooting. How many people he clipped? Like 6?
He wasn't clipping random
He was
people.
going after police officers.
He was going after corrupt police. I don't count that as a random shooter.
So we
from a
won't count it, but
technical,
technically it is. You're right.
That's why I brought
You're
it
right.
up.
So 3. But I'm gonna say the DC sniper because it was him and his son, or his
them niggas
adopted
dead.
son. And at the even when it first happened, bro, they thought it was white people because it fit the description.
We don't do shit like that.
We don't typically don't do shit like that. So that's why I'm more so like with us, it's like, I ain't really, and I hate to say we don't do it, but that's something we really don't do.
It's a fact.
You get what I'm saying? It's more so the others.
Yeah.
But you got to realize, with as many random shootings that's happening literally everywhere, there's nowhere that people frequent that we can say is safe, because it's been shot up from church to movie theaters,
Malls,
football game,
to the
games.
classroom. Literally, the most sacred place you would think a church has been shot up.
Yeah.
So at this point, if you're not training, doing some type of tactical training, and carrying, you are at a disadvantage because so many people have them legally and illegally. You're almost a fool and negligent to not carry one, especially if you can get one legally.
Yeah.
And another thing, especially in the black community, you got to start exposing your kids to firearms early, and training them how to properly handle one. Because what we do is, out of fear, we try to hide it from them, and then they get their hands on one out in the street with their friends, and bam, accident happened. To where if you was training them, it's like, hey man,
you
we
treat
don't
it like
point.
it right.
You know
you
what
already
I'm
know.
saying?
It's certain things you treat it like it's loaded. You don't point at nobody unless you're ready to use it. It's certain things that you should already know
because they're doing that.
Exactly.
That's
Trust
what I'm
me,
saying.
they're doing that.
Yeah, and we do try to hide our children. We can let our kids, and it's funny because I'm glad you said that. In our culture, the same parents that say, don't let my child see a gun or play with a gun or train a gun, they'll let their kid listen to Sexy Red or let their kids watch an R-rated movie that got gun play in it or sexual explicit type language or sexual acts in it. And we're fine with that. When we can really show them some real life skills with learning how to train with a gun or how to operate in, gun safety law and safety rules, how you supposed to treat the gun. You get what I'm saying?
I agree. I for sure agree. I think too, when it comes to the licensing, right, it should be like a nursing license or a security guard car license where you have to renew this license every so often, and hopefully take some sort of test or do something to renew, the credentials.
So so like he said, maybe it should be like a gun safety training that instead of just taking like the written test of just to get the gun, it should be like a gun operation, like how to load it, how to disarm the
like
gun.
A clinical
clinical
It should be mandatory tactical training for teachers who are able to be armed on campus.
Facts.
There should be extra training required on top of whatever your state requires, because I know for a fact you don't have to take tactical training to get this. You just have to be able to pass the test and pass the mental background check. But to bring it on a school, I'm gonna need to know your aim is up to par, to where you're not gonna accidentally hit one of these kids trying to get the school.
What they say, friendly fire in the army, in the military.
Yeah, you know what I'm
friendly
saying.
Fire,
we don't need no friendly fire. So
cheddar bops.
And like you said, with the mental thing, that's about as far as you can go because you never really gonna be able to tell what somebody's gonna do through under duress.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Until the situation actually happens.
Or
like
our life-changing event where, say if it's a male teacher, his wife left him, you know what I'm saying, divorce-wise. Exactly. It can be something where he was fine at the time when he took that mental test, but shit, 2 weeks later, he caught his wife sucking another man's dick. Now he come to work all distraught and shit. You don't even know what type of mindset. Exactly.
That nigga out of there.
Something that triggered his ass.
Prime example, we just had a teacher, a black teacher, beat up a white student. The white student was calling him the N-word. Dude snapped, beat the student up. He's out on bail right now. I don't know what's going to happen to him as far as consequence-wise, but it's where's the line drawn with the student-teacher thing? Because I've even seen from my kids on their phones how like, oh, we got Snapchat challenges where they're being challenged to beat up teachers, like students. Ooh. Like who can slap the most teachers or shit like that. Like
that's crazy.
Kids are doing that now because the teachers aren't allowed to discipline the kids. They're being told, hey, just walk away.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. If I was a teacher and the kid slapped me, I might as well get here and get fired. Cause bro, that shit is out. Ain't no kid about to spot.
When we went to school in high school, the worst thing the kids did, they was like they would talk shit to the security guards, or if it was a fight, but the security guards was slamming niggas in.
I was just gonna say, we all had that one big cocky security from the hood. Like, look, I put my hands on you,
come on, bro.
Yeah. And the staff kind of knew, like, hey, you fuck with Big Shug,
it's
like this what he do. It's a rap. But now with the Me Too generation and you feel me?
And children's services get involved as far as corporal punishment and things like that. You know what I'm saying? You can't parent the way we were raised growing up. You know what I'm saying? Putting your hands on children. So I hate the fact that it's like that now because it's like you trying to teach them at home, but they don't want us to teach them at home like we were raised with the fear and the threat of ass whooping, but it's like, y'all want them to go to jail to learn that? Yeah. Oh, okay, bet. Like, it's kind of fucked up.
And I get what you're saying too. It's because it's like when it comes to teacher and student or staff and student, like if I was outside of the school and I didn't know your age and you came up to me and was talking crazy or whatever, I might do something to you.
Yeah, facts.
So why does it now change? And then on top of that, I probably wouldn't be in the wrong due to how the situation played out. So now when it's in the school, why does it change? Do you get what I'm saying?
No,
because of the child antagonizes the teacher.
Because while you're in class, you know how this child is considered a minor, but on the streets,
you might not know.
This is another alarming statistic. I don't know if people know, but about 75% of all teachers are women, specifically white women.
I figured.
So now you got to think, you got a bunch of young, hot-headed, masculine-filled, testosterone-filled boys going through puberty, and they're being dealt and handled with by middle-aged to younger white women. Yeah. So we actually need to get more male presence on these school campuses because that can curb a lot of that as well.
But you know why you don't have a lot of black male teachers? Shit don't pay enough, bro. You can't provide for your family being a teacher. Straight up.
And not only that, I think too some of the things you would have to deal with.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
That's what. Like, the pay
to be a
doesn't
teacher
match for what you got to deal with in public schools typically. You get what I'm saying? Teachers make between like 40 to like maybe 60,000, if that, on a higher end. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know they get a great vacation schedule. You know, they off every weekend, every holiday, but the pay ain't shit. So what man typically, black man that typically has a family, can live off that type of salary?
Not only that, too, you have to think about what you said about the white women. And the white women that work at these schools are the same white women that listen to Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton talk about black men are predators. These are the liberal type of women that I think that are going there, that are changing the world, whatever.
Affirmative action.
But they really are scared of black people. You get them white women all the time in the schools, and so I think they're obviously, going to be scared of black men as well. I think that's a big reason why you don't see black teachers, because like they don't want to deal with that racism or the same thing, you know what I mean, that they probably got to deal with on the outside.
See, more so, less on the race. I mean, just men in general. Just think about on a day-to-day, the men that's, the next generation of men in society are being groomed by women almost around the clock. Your kid is at school more hours than they are with you at home as a parent. So 80% of the time, your kid is being groomed and molded by a middle-aged white woman. You know what I'm saying? And then when we are talking about school shooters, I mean, how good of a defense are a bunch of middle-aged white women, even if they're armed?
Yeah, that's non-threatening.
Like, you just need more male presence on a campus, Period. Just think if it was flipped and it was 80% male on the campus, how quick would a student be to do one of these school shootings, knowing like, hey, it's all these men that are highly trained with weaponry. That might curb a student to do it.
Of course it would.
You know what I'm saying?
But then that'd be considered masculine, toxic.
Toxic.
Come on, man. Yeah, come on, bro.
That's toxic.
That's toxic because you know why? Men would stop violence.
Y'all trying to stop school shootings? Y'all toxic.
Yeah, come on. A lot of
He's
kids
getting in touch with his feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Goofy shit like that. Yeah, society's fucked up, man. But with that, I would like to see how that would pan out in California, because California is a whole nother.
That shit went past.
That's a whole nother issue to deal with.
You got 15-year-olds gangbanging. How you going?
Yeah, that's
not even the gang aspect. I mean, just with the LGBT thing. As far as like these teachers clearly have mental issues, and they're allowed to parade it, and it's protected and backed by the law. So, do you want somebody like that to have a gun at your kid's school? They already fucked up in the head.
Yeah, that's ugly. That's facts. That's honestly facts.
It's different. And then, like you said, we got kids that's gangbanging. They coming to school with guns out here. And
we're a heavily minority state, where there's a lot of black and browns and things like that. You get what I'm saying? So we outnumber typically white folks when it comes to that, like especially like an LAUSD school system.
And race does play a factor, because let's just be real. Me and you see Lil Ray with a gun. We could, hey man, bring your little ass over here. We could talk about and get it
bro.
Possibly,
to where you have a middle-aged white woman or middle-aged white dad, feared. And now they got to make a judgment call, and they just see a gun, and they're already afraid of the student, because these students doing dumb shit. They're beating up teachers. Your kid might get
scared and pop on accident,
gunned down out of fear from a teacher who made a judgment call, and they would be in the right technically because your kid has a gun. But we might have a little more empathy and know how to deal and talk with the same student, because we've been that student. So all of that plays a factor, man. Is we got to get more variety in here.
It's too left. Yeah. It's too democratic for that to even pass, I believe, bro. We're so liberal. I don't even think that would even fly.
So we'll see how this works out in Tennessee, and hopefully everything goes smooth
safely.
And we have less school shootings, because I actually think these things are being concocted and purposely done to put fear on the public, to get the public to disarm themselves. That's what I think, all this shit. But they're going to call me conspiracy theorist, and we talk about that later.
No, I agree. It's one of the forever battles, I like to call them. It's that, it's religion, it's sex. These are some of the forever battles that you'll see over time get renewed and switched into something different decade after decade. It's just one of those things.